Hello, everybody, and welcome to this community chat with Tina from Flavour. It's so exciting to be chatting with you, Tina, and I'm very excited about hearing all your latest news, but also giving our members an opportunity to hear a little bit about you. So, welcome to this community chat at the
Thank
Maven
you
Club.
so much, Karen. Appreciate it. It's lovely to be chatting again.
It's good, isn't it? So I obviously I know a little bit about your story, and I've had the joy of just kind of getting alongside you at the very start of the journey. But can you tell the other members of the Maven Club a little bit about you, and also maybe a bit about your story that led to you starting your own business?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Tina Fagihi-Hallam. I actually worked in tech for about 13 years before I started or co-founded Flavour Bombs with my husband. So I was very much working my way up in the tech world in SaaS, so software as a service. I work very much within the commercial side within startups. So startups have been my bread and butter for the past 13 years, very well versed with that world. But I would manage the commercial account management customer success teams, and we would be in charge of essentially the contracts, upselling, cross-selling, that sort of thing, but very much within the go-to-market side as well. I'd be looking at how we're going to grow the startup business, where is it that we want to be in the next sort of year to 12 months and that sort of thing. So forecasting, which I have all of that wonderful stuff I brought into the Flavour Bombs world. But I was very laser focused on my career, progressing, getting to sort of senior C-level. And during that journey, sort of in about just 2024, I was engaged to my husband. I think we were recently married. We were recently married, and I'd been made redundant twice in the tech industry. Had been really quite turbulent, and it still is. But I was looking at Ollie, and he works in the film and TV industry, and he would go and work 12-hour days and come back, with a smile on his face. He would have been, up a field somewhere filming a film or whatever it is, but he'd always be so happy, and it kind of really hit me, and I took a step back and thought, that was job satisfaction, enjoyment. What's that like? I don't
Mhm.
recognize that anymore,
Wow.
you know, because I was so busy on progressing and moving up within my career and hitting those milestones that gave me kind of that dopamine hit and happiness. It's
Mhm.
kind of where I'd reached a certain point. I thought to myself, hold on, what am I doing now? Do I really want to be doing this for the next 10 years, 5 years? What does that look like for life?
Mhm.
I'd experienced burnout a couple of times. So I had the opportunity, and I was quite privileged to have the opportunity to have the time to rethink that after my redundancy.
Mhm.
I'd always been very entrepreneurial. Both my parents have businesses. Even when I was sort of a teen, I'd sit with my friends and think, oh, that's a particular problem. How can we potentially solve that? But not having the capital or the confidence to really do anything, I hadn't
Mhm.
really pursued it. So
Mhm.
Flavour Bombs was born in February 2024, and it's been almost 2 years. And here we are talking about expansion and
Phenomenal.
growth.
Yeah, and we'll come back to that, and you can tell us some of the high points and some of the success story. And also, we really want to be able to plug Flavour Bombs because it is a fantastic product. Particularly, anyone thinking of an alternative Christmas gift, this is a really lovely thing to do. But today we're primarily focusing on what's it like to take that leap from the corporate world and actually launch your own startup. Now, like you say, you were very familiar with working alongside startups, but it's a different story when it's your own, isn't it? So, what's it been like for you to be on the other side and actually you've gone into an industry that is really new to you. You weren't familiar with this industry. So tell us a little bit about that, because I think that there's people who would love to do this, but perhaps feel so scared to go take a leap from, the corporate world into their own enterprise.
Absolutely. I think definitely for me and a lot of other founders I've spoken to, the hardest part is actually starting.
Mm.
It's making that decision and taking that first step, whether it is to think of a business name, finalize a product, start a website.
Mhm.
And really, it was very, very overwhelming initially.
Mm.
But I had Ollie to talk through with it. really, and we kind of
Hmm.
divided that the work essentially so
Hmm.
that I could really focus on what is Flavour Bombs, what is this product, what is it that I want to create, and I had the opportunity to then go and really do what I do best, which is make the flavors and be that little scientist in the kitchen.
Hmm.
And Ollie did the operational thing. So
Hmm.
if you absolutely, you can do it by yourself. If you have a partner or a co-founder that you think you might want to work with, a friend, family member, whatever it might be, that you think might make that initial step easier because you don't feel like it's all on your own shoulders, then
Hmm.
definitely explore that too, because it does feel a little bit less scary. Another thing that kind of helped me make that transition was, quite frankly, it was the capital that we were putting into the business. It wasn't thousands and thousands. We didn't have to spend thousands on R&D. We started off really small, which made me feel
Hmm.
like, let's do this as a proof of concept first.
Yeah.
Let's see how this does, and then we can move forward with it. It didn't feel as overwhelming as if we were taking, a loan out or borrowing or whatever it was, or plowing a lot of our own savings into it, which we did a little bit, but that
Yeah.
was a little bit further down the line. Um, and my recommendation is just take it step by step. Put a
Mm.
plan together, have a project plan. What is it that you want to achieve? What is it that you need to start to tick off? And it takes a lot of research, especially as you said, this industry was absolutely brand new to me. I had
Hmm.
no idea how it worked.
Yeah.
Even understanding things like distributors, margins, rules and regulations for food, packaging. So there's lots of things that needs to be done, but you just chip away at it bit by bit, really.
Yeah, that's really helpful actually. It's kind of like instead of seeing the massive elephant, it is the bite at a time, isn't it? And I think that's been my experience has been for a lot of people, it's the overwhelm at the start that can prohibit them from getting going. But actually, if you've got one or two people around you that you can bounce ideas off, and or you, like you say, you can actually attack it from different directions together, then you can just start small. And I think most of the members of the Maven Club, that we're not talking about huge investment businesses that need massive upfront capital. We're talking about passions that have been birthed in people that they want to get going, and that's part of why we exist, is to help people get going and then keep growing. And I think if you know that you've got one or two people that are for you, it does give you that encouragement to take the next step, because it can be lonely being an entrepreneur, can't it?
Absolutely, it really is. And to that point, if you don't have people that you think you can have conversations with about it, maybe they just
Hmm.
don't they don't have their own business, they haven't been in that
Hmm.
position, they might not understand it. You were absolutely critical for the conversations we were having because you give that outside perspective. And we were so in the business at the beginning, and we still are. We're in the business and trying to work on the business, which are two very different things. So having those sessions with you and talking through, okay, well, why are we doing this?
Hmm.
What are our values? What's important
Hmm.
in business? What does growth look like? Um,
Hmm.
and taking that outside perspective away in your knowledge was absolutely invaluable. So don't fret if you don't have those people you can talk to. These sessions are valuable, extremely valuable.
Thank you. That's a nice little plug for the Maiden Club. Thank
Yeah,
you. And it's
true.
also one of the reasons why we've made our membership free, and we kind of just drip feed lots of different resources for free, because I just think it's so tragic when people don't even get going and have a
Yeah.
go at something just because they feel so overwhelmed. And you don't have to have it all worked out.
Yeah,
With just a little bit of
exactly.
encouragement, you can take those steps, can't you?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
most of us are all still trying to work it out on the go anyway, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Whatever
Absolutely.
we're doing.
I think it's giving yourself some grace as well and just being a bit kind to yourself and saying, look, you're not going to know everything. You're not
Hmm.
going to figure everything out. All you can do is just bit by bit. But the most important thing is just take that initial step. And then
Yeah.
everything else genuinely does fall into place once the ball starts to roll.
Yeah, and I think to your point as well, that sense that you were very fortunate because you had Ollie and it was a sort of joint idea venture to go for it, but you've also had support, like you've got parents that have been entrepreneurs. You had a lot of family support and other support. Plus, for you, you did have a lot of knowledge because of your previous background. For some people, if they're the only entrepreneur, they
Mm.
can feel really isolated because it's very easy for people to talk you out of something rather than to support you getting going, isn't it? And so even though you had a good support system around you, what would you say was a low point or a challenge in actually starting and getting going?
Um, we did have people that said, "Oh, I don't know about that," or "I don't know
Hmm.
whether I'd use that," or "The price point I'm not sure about." So you've got to have that conviction yourself.
Hmm.
Often when you're thinking about, why am I doing this? Am I solving a problem? Am I helping? Is it solving a need, whatever it might be? Is this because of trends that I've noticed that other people might not have? So have that self-belief, right?
Hmm.
And there will be times where you trip up and you learn and you move on. We constantly have highs and lows. It's
Hmm.
constant. Um, where, for example, you want to we launch new flavors, right? And it's looking at,
Hmm.
okay, well, this isn't working. I need to tweak this. We've had a setback with a supplier that's been delayed. We can't hit a certain
Hmm.
deadline. We work through a retail listing, for example, Selfridges. I remember talking to you about Selfridges over a year ago, and we were so excited about getting on the shelves there, and that was delayed, and it's meant to be this spring now. So you
Oh,
just kind of
wow.
yeah, you just have to roll those punches and kind of put your focus on something else and just kind of work
Hmm.
through it,
Hmm.
and really take a step back. Sometimes things can become really overwhelming. The decision fatigue is real.
Yeah,
Decision fatigue is
very
so
real.
real. So it's just giving yourself the grace to take an hour, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is that you need, because everyone
Hmm.
knows how they deal with things, and what
Hmm.
works for them, and do that and come back to it, and you'll feel refreshed and you'll
Hmm.
feel better for it.
Hmm.
Um, it's the constant peaks and troughs and highs and lows. A
Yeah,
community is also really important. I was going to mention that.
yeah,
I'm part
yeah.
of By Women Built, and having that, especially in an unknown, a By Women Built is a community of female founders who have a physical
Hmm.
product, or they're
Yeah,
co-founders.
yeah,
And I would ask so many questions saying, I don't
yeah.
know how this works. Does anyone else on this? Because they're all in the same boat. So join a community of people or founders as well. That would really, really help.
Yeah, and I think being brave enough just to be the one that asks the questions, everyone's thinking it anyway, aren't they? So it's just so helpful to do that. And I think it is real. There's highs and lows. There's great points and there's some challenges, but a lot of it is learning who you are and working within the realms of that. So I mean, we put a lot of emphasis on well-being and just coming back to what really matters to you, so that the overwhelm doesn't get so huge that you kind of forget why you're doing it, or it's just going back to, like, the reason you gave up your corporate job. You don't want that anymore in your
Yeah,
life, do you? So it's good to be reminded sometimes, and sometimes you just need those good people around you to make you just take a little bit of a step
yeah,
back and go, it's going to be okay, it's going to be
exactly.
okay.
Exactly.
And one of the things that we worked on together was actually going back to the basics of your personal values and making sure that there was a sense of correlation between what you valued as a person, what really mattered to you, and then how that was going to influence the values that you were building into this brand new business that you had like ambitious aims for it. Now I remember, like, and everybody will realize this now because of your background, thinking, how can I possibly help you, because you like are the PhD of this stuff, this stuff really, really well. And because you've done so much of that stuff. But actually, I think it was helpful, wasn't it, for you to go back to look at your personal values and line it all up and let that get really embedded in who you are as a CEO, what that means as your company values, how you're going to onboard others and grow, who you will and won't do business with. So unpack that a little bit. Why are values important, would you say, and marrying them with your own
Yeah,
values?
absolutely. So I think one of the light bulb moments that I had, talking to you about values, because you presented that conversation, that sort of task, was I had a light bulb moment thinking, oh my God, like, this is my business. This is our business. I have
Mhm.
control over how we
Yeah,
treat
that's
people.
interesting.
what our values means, and actually embedding those values in how we operate every day. And it's not just an onboarding sheet that people
Yeah.
give on the day, that you actually live and breathe it, and it intrinsically, so many of those values are just part of who we are. And yeah, and that realization of I'm not having to run this past anyone else, sort of thing. This is how we're building our business. So that was lovely. And then once I thought, oh, I have control over this, I thought, well, what is really important to me? What have I seen work really well in other organizations I've worked at, and what has absolutely just not worked? It's things like throwing buzzwords out there. I think I mentioned to you, nearly every company I worked at, they mentioned radical candor. And it's like, well, what does that even mean? What is radical candor? How do you actually embed it? And I believe in this. We should always have open and honest conversations. And no one should ever be afraid of saying how they feel, if things can be improved, if they're upset about something, if they're frustrated, whatever it might be. But it's living all those things by example. So for example, being open and honest, key sort of value that I want to bring into, any environment I work in. Communication, hugely important. Just a general lovely working environment. And a plethora of other things, but it's living and breathing that every day, and making sure that whoever comes and works at Flavour Bombs understands that they can feel comfortable in this environment. And those things are something that we hold ourselves by, because whenever you go to work somewhere new, you think, oh, these are the values. Can I actually speak out? Am I going to secretly be reprimanded for it? Are they going to hold that against me? And we have someone who works with us part-time, and she's really come to realize that no, she's a human being. She has her off days. She can come and offload on me about anything. We can have the conversation. We work together and we move on, whether that's personal, whether that's professional. I want everyone to feel, because you spend so much time at work, more so with your own friends and family, it has to be an environment you feel happy and content in. So in a long-winded way, we've really been working on those things, but just day to day.
Yeah, and I think that is essential, because, like you say, it's very easy for a sort of marketing campaign that states what those values are, but if they're not experienced and lived out, and they're not embedded in the DNA, then it isn't a real experience, and it actually undermines who you are. But I think also, as you're growing your organization and you are employing people, and you're bringing people on that journey with you, it's so easy for that to get diluted if you're not intentional about making sure it is in everything you do. And the culture of your organization can change almost in an instant if you don't guard and go after those values being in everything you do. So it is good for us to be reminded of what matters to us, and why we behave a certain way. And I think it's helpful to just have that focused time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's also, I was actually talking, so we're in conversations with investors, as I mentioned to you earlier, and we were talking about our values, and you and I remember 8 months or so ago, we're talking about, well, if we were to bring on investors, what would, it's not just about what they can bring to the table in terms of experience, but it's also about who are they as people, what do they believe in, does that align? And I was having conversations with them last week, and we were talking about, what do those values actually mean, making sure that we were living and breathing them, but that, that they are believing in the things that we want to do, and how we want to grow, and that's not being diluted as we grow as well. Because again, so many times you bring on people, and I said this to them as well, because we met up with a lot of the team, and I could see how similar they are. Birds of a feather do flock together. So you have to then hire the right people, the right team leads, the right managers, because they are the ones that are also carrying on your values and your model. So it's making sure that we're hiring right. And I've seen how that can go so catastrophically wrong in other businesses, and how that can lead to a really toxic environment.
Very easily, and also I do recall with you, we won't obviously mention any names or anything, but a very large, very large organisation that you had a conversation with around your product, and they really wanted to dilute it, and at a time where the bills are coming, the need to grow is there. You could have very easily have compromised and gone for it, but you were brave enough to walk away from a potentially significant deal because they didn't value what you were offering, and it would have compromised your values, wouldn't it? And that's so hard to do in reality, but so beneficial and so worthwhile in the long term.
So important. And it was so interesting because I think you and I had a conversation not long before that where we were talking about it's not just values on kind of people and our culture, but also values about us and our business and how we want to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And truly, I don't know whether I would have had as much of a level head if I hadn't had that conversation with you beforehand. Because it helped me really break that down, and understand, well, what is it that we're willing to change and what are we not, and for what reasons?
Yeah. And you weren't willing to compromise on what mattered to you. I mean, I've had people say, "Oh, you're so annoying, Karen. It's like you were on my shoulder. I could hear you go da 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 da." But then they're actually grateful in the long run because they then get through that. They look back and they go, "That would have just compromised everything we stand for." And so that's why for me this is such a passion piece of work. It getting that embedded from the start, foundationally being your strength, is so important. So anyway, tell us about some highs. Tell us about some things that you're absolutely pinching yourself about, going, I cannot believe it, because you're only a couple of years old. You're a baby business with. We could spend hours talking about some of the amazing things. So pick something that's been a great thing.
Frustratingly and annoyingly, one of the biggest things I can't talk about yet. But it was a surreal moment for Ollie and I, and fingers crossed we'll be able to talk about it in the new year, hopefully. But aside from that, I think just the fact that we are in a unit of our own and our business has grown so much that we're talking about getting an even bigger space. Because we've got such good plans, of growth for the next year and for this big thing that hopefully is happening in the following year. But even just things like seeing, I think the first time that we saw Flavour Bombs on a retail shelf, that was just an absolute pinch me moment. I can't believe that the general public are walking past and picking up our products and buying it. And we're in kitchens, around the UK, but also when we got our first international order and I saw it was going to Tasmania. We've been from Alaska to Tasmania to Saudi Arabia to everywhere. So it's just been the fact that we're sat in kitchens around the world is a real pinch me moment too.
Oh, that is so fun. Those are the moments that make it so worthwhile, aren't they? They're just exciting and pinch yourself moments. So what would you tell others that could actually make a difference to them? So somebody's perhaps thinking about getting going, or they've started and it's just not quite working out at the moment. What would you say to them that would make a difference?
That's such a good question. I would absolutely, and I'm very guilty of this, and I'm changing it. I don't like to lean on others. I feel like I need to figure it all out myself, and sometimes that's just not feasible. Lean on other people, have conversations, join communities where you can ask those questions and get that support, because even one conversation for 10 minutes can absolutely change your perspective on how you're feeling. They can give you advice and support, things that you didn't know about, so you can move forward. You feel like, when you're kind of in that rut. And I've been in this. I remember one of the conversations you and I had, and I was so glum that at the beginning of the conversation, by the end of it, I had just had a new lease of life because you put things into perspective. So join those communities, have those conversations, and then take some time away to kind of rethink and evaluate. If you are feeling stuck in something, try and understand what is it that's making you feel stuck. And even if it's a small thing that can help you move forward, you will feel that sense of accomplishment. I'm also guilty of the fact that I wanted to have everything yesterday. And, I compare myself to other products and brands and say, oh, well, they were in supermarkets within the first 6 months, but we're not there yet. And I beat myself about it. But I think, well, no, hold on. Look at everything that we've achieved. Also, give yourself the time to look about everything that you've done that is fantastic. Don't just look at what's left, what's ahead. Look at everything that you've achieved as well. Because they are big things, especially in a world where nothing. It's a completely new world to you.
I'm a big encourager of people doing timelines as a reflective thing, because I think sometimes you're so caught up with what's going on or today's issue. And sometimes just going back and going, well, hold on, this was just a concept X number of years ago, and look at this, and then that, and being able to just stop and go, you know what, this is great. We've achieved all of this. If nothing else, this is what we've done. So fantastic.
Another thing I would say, sorry, Karen, is just lean on people that have been successful in what you're doing or within your field. I reached out to a load of people on LinkedIn, and I was very candid, and I said, hey, I'm new in this industry. You're in Waitrose or whatever, or you're a mentor for, you have built a multi-million-pound business from nothing. Can I have a conversation with you? Can I have 10 minutes? Whatever it is, whatever time that you have, and really pick their brain, and don't be afraid of doing that. Lean on people as well. That comes back to the leaning on people sort of thing.
Yeah, because the worst thing is they say no, you've not lost anything. We just have to get over ourselves sometimes, don't we, and take that step.
No one's ever said no. There you go. Because they've been there, they get it, they understand it,
Yeah. I think that sense of having a community, a tribe, if you like, that knows what it's like is so good, isn't it? So before we close, why don't you just take the floor for a moment and actually tell us about Flavour Bombs? Where can people get it? All of that.
I wish I had one with me now. I could have shown you. But essentially, so we jokingly call Flavour Bombs a bath bomb for your saucepan. So it makes the curry base, the broth, the sauce, or the consommé. So you literally just pop it up. A wonderful husband has brought me one. Here it is.
Hey, nice. Oh, yes, I've had that one.
You had the birrias. This is our Mexican birrias. You literally pop one of these into your pan with water and your protein of choice, and it makes the Mexican stew or the curry base. So you're not having to source a load of difficult ingredients. You're not putting herbs and in the fridge that you use a bit of, and it wilts and you throw it away. So we're kind of helping the wasted issue. You're not buying a load of jars of spices to put in the cupboard
that you're never going to use again.
They don't see the light of day for 5 years. So it's all of the ingredients you literally just pop into your pan, and it makes it for you. Wonderful for weekday dinners, and they're based off of authentic family recipes. They're taste tested and approved by chefs. Oh, and another high that I can't believe I didn't mention is we've won some awards now for our flavour.
Yay! So awesome. So the website is
flavorbombs.com.
Nice and easy. So tell us about your awards.
So we won Great British Food Awards 2025, which are judged by Michelin star chefs such as Michel Roux Jr. and Raymond Blanc, which again was so surreal. So we put forward 3 of our flavours, and all 3 of them won awards, which was fantastic. So I'm going to be
is incredible.
Sending the rest
fantastic. I think one of the things I love about it as well is that it makes me feel like I've got grandmothers all over the world, if you like, because it feels like if you do that, it feels like it's a secret recipe that's being passed through the generations, and the smell and the taste and everything, it just seems so authentic. I love food, and I love traveling, and I love experiencing really authentic recipes, and I think Flavour Bombs is awesome. So hopefully more people will be visiting your site after this. But is there one closing remark, one simple daily activity that you do that you could recommend to anybody else, just to help them keep taking those steps forward and not giving up on their business?
Honestly, sometimes it's as simple as just go on a walk, clear your head, do something that brings you joy away from business, take a step back. It is so imperative. Even if it's just go and have a chocolate bar and get some sweetness and that dopamine hit. Do something that just makes you happy, because it's so easy to get bogged down by it. Speak to one of your favorite people on the phone. Put your favorite TV program in the back as you're working away. Just do things that bring you joy along the way, because it can be really overwhelming.
Oh, fantastic. What a fabulous note to end on. Thank you so much, Tina, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So just for the community to know, it's flavorbombs.com. Go visit, go get your Christmas orders in. And
have a gift box as well, perfect for gifting, and these are great for stocking fillers. Another plug.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tina, and all the best. We look forward to hearing more in the future.
Thank you. Take care.